I'm Pastor David Sprang, assistant to the bishop and director for Evangelical Mission. My favorite Jesus story comes from Mark in the 4th chapter and continues on into the 5th chapter. Each gospel has its own unique character. I really appreciate the Gospel of Mark because he has some of the same tendencies to be ADHD as I have. He keeps the story moving and can't wait till the end. In Mark 4, Jesus teaches by the sea. He doesn't give the full Sermon on the Mount, but snippets of it that you'll find in full context in Matthew. As the day draws to a close, Jesus compels the disciples to take him in the boat to the other side. He says he left the crowd. I figure he thinks they knew how to get there. They know how to find their way home. Then Jesus says, "Let us go," which in Greek can either be a suggestion or a command, like, "We are going to the other side." Jesus is always mission-minded. They're not just going for a boat ride, but they're going to the other side of the sea, foreign territory. A great storm arose, and Mark's brevity lets us wonder if this is just a common storm or it's also a commentary on the disciples being fearful of going to the other side. But no matter what their fears, Jesus is asleep in the boat. I picture in my mind the volume rising as they argue about who's going to wake up Jesus. You wake him up. No, you wake him up. Well, I'm not going to wake him up. And Mark says they woke him up. Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." I think he may have been speaking to the disciples too. The wind ceased, the sea was calm, and Jesus, like so many others in the scripture, God or Jesus or angels says, "Do not be afraid." Have you no faith? Chapter 5 begins with them arriving on the other side, and their worst fears are encountered as they are confronted with a man they describe as being possessed by a demon. Their first time outside of their comfort zone with their friends and neighbors, telling them about Jesus, and they meet a wild man living in the tombs, dragging around shackles, howling and beating on himself with stones. Every Christian's nightmare about why they don't do evangelism and talk to anybody else about Jesus. The man comes running and shouting at them. Jesus calms things down, learns his name, sends away the demons, and the man sits calmly with the disciples, listening to Jesus. He wants to go with them, and Jesus says, "You stay here and tell your friends and neighbors about how much the Lord has done for you." Now that's talking about Jesus. That's why it's one of my favorite Bible stories. Jesus compelling us to go outside our comfort zone. Then as we go and our worst fears come true, Jesus is there with us to help. In the end, we share our experiences of Jesus with strangers and outsiders, and they become friends. But more importantly, they become friends of Jesus.